Hello everyone and welcome to Game 9 of the Women's World Chess Championship match, which could also be the last game as Wenjun is leading the match with a 4-point margin. So that means as this is Game 9, there are 4 more games in the match. It's a 12-game match total. Zhongyi needs to win all 4 games in order to force tiebreaks, which is not easy. But also not impossible. So, it starts by winning 1 game, then 2, then 3, hopefully 4, and then we go into tie breaks. And in the all of the World Chess Championship matches, including the men and the women throughout history, there's only been a handful of times where someone was winning so convincingly. But interestingly, for example, in the first ever World Chess Championship match between Steinitz and Johannes Zukertort, okay, Steinitz won game 1, then Zukertort won game 2, 3, 4, and 5. He won 4 games in a row, which was, it was looking as, okay, we have a new world champion. But no, Steinitz then not only equalized the match, but for the rest of the match, Johannes was able to win only 1 more game. And in the end, Steinitz won with a result of 10-5. The other example was also Steinitz versus Laska, where Steinitz again lost 5 games in a row, not 4 but 5, but in the end he wasn't able to overcome Lasker. Lasker became world champion, and those are the only 2 examples we have from the men's world championship. Back then it was called the men's world championship, it wasn't called the open world championship. And in women's world championship matches, there is one example where it's even more drastic. In 1958 we had a case of where Olga Rubtsova, who was the defending world champion, faced ex-world champion Elizaveta Bikova, and Bikova won 6 games in a row. So it's not that it never happened, like Wenjun winning 4 games in a row. It's just that it's incredibly rare. So can Tan do it? Tan Zhongyi, can she do it? Let's check it out. And also here is a nice photo of the game before we get started. There we have it. There you have it, some children making the first ceremonial moves. I don't know who the children are, but I'm pretty sure they're already at least 2400 rated, as kids are nowadays. So yeah, no beverages, as you can see in this game. Okay, no beverages for any game. I think Wenjun only had a beverage for 1 game, but also I think this is the first time that Tan Zhongyi also without a beverage, so she's fully focused on the game. So let's see what happens. Wenjun only needs one draw over the course of the next 4 games to win the championship. How will she open? And that is, of course, with pawn to e4. This is, as Bobby Fischer said, best by test, and it is up to Tan Zhongyi to put it to the test. So for e4, we have pawn to c5, again the Sicilian defense. So it's been the entire championship. Wenjun e4, Tan Zhongyi pawn to c5. The Sicilian knight f3, knight to c6, and the bishop to b5. The Nimzovich-Rossolimo attack, we have pawn to e6, castles, and knight g to e7. And in game 7, Wenjun played pawn to d4 in that very nice game that she won, but here she mixes it up, rook to e1. It's not really mixing it up, since rook to e1 is the main line and pawn to d4 is only the 4th most popular continuation. But now where she doesn't really need to win, she only needs a draw, it's perfectly fine to play the main line. Rook to e1 is the most played move, the most analyzed. If Tan wants to do something about it, then she will have to look for, some opportunities in the main line, which is never easy. And the pawn to a6 is the main move. She goes for knight to d4, second most popular, but still very analyzed in many games in the database with this exact same move. Knight captures c, captures pawn to c3, pawn to a6, and the bishop back to f1. This is, again, the main line of this set variation. Knight to c6, we have knight to a3, most popular is pawn to b4. She goes knight to a3, offering the knight so she can double her pawns, but even though your pawns are doubled, it's really a strength in this position, not a weakness. You get 2 bishops in an open position, you get the semi-open b file for the rook. No one plays this with black. So instead, after knight to a3, there are a couple of games where bishop to c5 was played and some other moves, but bishop to e7 has never been played, and it is now already, as of move 9, that we have a completely new game. So is this enough? Is this enough for Tan Zhongyi to find winning chances? Well, let's check it out. We have knight to c2. The knight now helps out with the fight for the center of the board. Pawn to d5, and now knight captures on d4. We have knight captures, c captures, d captures on e4, and pawn to d3, where you could capture on d4 with the queen, but after d captures on e4, it's a queen captures on d4 is basically a draw. For now, you either allow the white queen into the game, or you trade, and it's a very dry position. You know, equal material, equal pawn structure, both players with the bishop pair. I mean, anything could happen, but chances are it will be a draw. So she has to play e captures on d3, bishop captures, and I hope none of you are considering capturing the pawn. If you do this, then bishop b5 check, and you blunder your queen. Bishop captures, we have castles kingside, and bishop to e4, stopping any b5 action, followed by bishop to b7, bishop to f6, putting pressure on d4, and bishop to e3. We have pawn to g6, and now, well, if you were playing this for a win, I guess you continue developing, but queen to b3 is also perfectly fine. Seems like you're offering the d pawn for the b pawn, but not really. You just want to play rook 8 to d1 and temporarily sacrifice a pawn for the initiative, which if you don't do it, then you just allowed queen b3 for free, rook is coming to d1, and then with rooks on d1, e1, and the queen on b3, the reigning world champion will be having a much better position. So she has to go for it. Bishop captures on d4, we have rook 8 to d1, pawn to e5, defending the bishop, and now bishop captures on d4. You could also maybe throw in a bishop to d5 if you want to complicate, but there's no need to do it. Bishop captures, e captures, and now, of course, I hope you guys are not thinking about bishop captures on b7 due to rook b8. That would just blunder the bishop. So after e captures on d4, we have queen to b4. Now you're going to pick up the d4 pawn and just have a nice game. Okay, pawn to a5. We have queen captures on d4, queen captures, and rook captures. Again, symmetrical pawn structure, two rooks each, a light square bishop each, not looking like much for Zhongyi, who needs a win in order to, get to game 10 in order to have winning chances in the match. We have bishop to e6, bishop to d5, and rook f to d8. We have rook e to d1, and rook a to c8, hoping to maybe capture, and deliver checkmate on c1, but of course, Wenjun will not fall for that. King to f1, we have rook to d6 and bishop captures on e6, just trading everything down, because if you capture the rook first, then bishop captures on f7, snatches another pawn. So you have to capture on e6, and now simply rook d8 check, captures and captures. And now we have a very simple rook endgame, equal pawns, equal pawn structure. Not much to be done in this position. King g7, we have rook to d7, pawn to b6, and pawn to g4. We have king to f6, rook b7, and pawn to h5. Trying to make some imbalance in the position. Captures, king to g2, king to g6, and king to g3. We have pawn to f6 and pawn to h4. King to f5, and rook to h7. We have king to g6, going after the rook. You have to defend the h5 pawn, but just rook b7 now. And there's no way to get the king into the game, because if you defend the h-pawn with the rook, then the b-pawn will hang, and if you get the king into the game, then Wenjun just goes after the h5 pawn again, which is exactly what happened. King f5, rook to h7, king g6, and he was in this position on move 38 that Wenjun and Zhongyi agreed to a draw, which means that Wenjun retains her title. She wins the World Chess Championship match, and this is the 5th time she has done so. So, like Nona Gaprindashvili and Maciej Brdanice, she wins her 5th World Chess Championship match. Will she go further than that? We'll see. But it doesn't seem like there's anyone even close to her that can stop her. She also is now over 2580. She was at over 2600 at some point, but it's very hard getting rating, because she's the highest rated now, and whoever she faces is lower rated than her. So yeah, you have to play open tournaments to gain more rating. So this is something that a lot of people don't understand. She 2561 when you're playing exclusively women is not the same as 2561 when you're playing in open. But yeah, okay, that's maybe a topic for a different video. Wenjun is much stronger than 2561, as she has proven in, for example, Tata Steel last year, where, like I said, she defeated Alireza Firuza, she drew Nepo, she drew Ding, she drew Gukesh, and you know, she needs more tournaments like that in order to improve not just her play, but also her rating. And you can see in her moves, she's playing brilliant moves. The only difference is when you're playing in an open tournament, or let's say Tata Steel, when you're playing against the absolute best in the world, you will have to play those best moves, you know, 40 moves in a row, in a very, very, you know, excruciating positions if you want to play at that level. But yeah, she has proven that she can do it. Very much looking forward to her playing other open tournaments, and you know, hopefully Tata Steel next year as well. And yeah, very much looking forward to who will get to challenge her, because just winning the women's candidates tournament seems not to be nearly enough to challenge Wenjun for the title. Yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. This wasn't really even a chess game for her. This was, you know, she just blitzed out the moves of the main line. Okay, not blitzed out. She did spend an hour on the clock because, of course, you want to make sure. But at no point in the game was she in any danger. She just neutralized the position completely, and you know, it was an impossible task for Tan Zhongyi to, you know, win this with black and then hope for another and another game to even equalize the match. It was simply not happening. So big congratulations to her. Like I said, winning her 5th World Chess Championship match. And it's interesting that Tan Zhongyi was the champion when Wenjun defeated her in 2018, so she took the title away from her. Now Tan Zhongyi was hoping to do the same, but not today, says Wenjun. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank Derek King, Charles Benjamin Flynn, Dan Schwartz, Ilya Maltsev, and Mohammed Babar Khalil for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.